for me, it's meeting people who have been touched by the charity, have been inspired by the story of the charity, and hearing that feedback is what really motivates me.
On today's episode of Spill the Tea with LLIB, we have the inspirational fire starter, Rachel Daley. So Rachel, can you share with our listeners a little bit more about your business and the unique aspects that set it apart?
Yeah, sure. So my business is actually a charity, and the charity supports parents and carers raising children and young people with a whole range of special needs and disabilities. The charity is based in the Wirral, but covers sort of the whole city region, and the support that is there is unique really in that the focus is very much on the parent and carer and their part of that journey. There's lots of incredible organisations that support children with SEND, but our focus is very much on parents and the importance of them looking after themselves, learning about self-care and well-being, mindset, and how, you know, it's important for them to top up their cup in order to continue to be amazing parents and carers.
Yeah, it's so needed, isn't it? It's such an issue at the moment, isn't it? And we had a parents and carers coffee evening last night, and one of the parents there, who's parent of a SEND child, neurodiverse little boy, and he said, parenting's tough anyway, but parenting a child with additional needs is like parenting on steroids. And I've never felt it more, you know, and the struggle for them to find any time for themselves is really hard, isn't it?
It is. And actually a lot of parents and carers, or parent carers, as the system knows them as, don't really recognise themselves in that caring part of the role.
No.
They're parents first and foremost. And often that means that they don't realise sometimes that the additional stuff that they're doing to care for their child with the additional needs, whatever they might be. And as a charity, we try and encourage people to accept that. There's a lot of focus around acceptance and the importance of giving yourself a bit of compassion, really, linking you in with other people like you. Lots of the parents and carers we support talk about them finding their tribe when they've been involved with the charity, because they've linked in and they've got that community and that network of support, and it's not just them. They talk about, you know, maybe they've tried baby groups or other parenting forums or whatever, and they can't really relate in the same way to some of the challenges or, you know, some of the difficulties that they're facing with their child or young person. So it's definitely a growing need, and it can be really isolating, can't it? And I think you're right in that parent carer responsibility role. Parents just think that that's what everybody else is doing as well, don't they? You know, that's what's expected of me. I've got to look after my child, and yes, you have, but with a child with additional needs or disability as well, there is definitely that caring responsibility that is heavy. And unfortunately, for some parents, that doesn't go away as the child gets older. So as you move through childhood, you expect maybe your parental responsibility to decrease slightly and your child to become a bit more independent in some areas. And I think one of the stark realities as our children get older is that some of those skills that you expect to develop, and as you step away then, don't actually come. And it's that dawning realisation that this is a life journey as well. Yeah, they're going to need you for a longer time, which highlights the importance even more of looking after yourself in that. And it is a challenge, you know, time is a challenge for many of the parents and carers we support, but we talk about finding micro moments, you know, in the day, and teaching people to recognise opportunities, you know, even if that's when you're brushing your teeth or whatever in the morning, to just be able to do a little bit of something for you to take stock, you know, check in with yourself, how are you feeling? And also finding those opportunities. If you make friends with parents who've got children who've got similar needs to your child, that reduces the burden sometimes as well, because you know, you've got that peer support friendship, and then your child and young person, they've got peer support as well, and you've got that like little family that,
you know, is outside of your core family that you can tap into.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to venture into this particular niche? So a charity is a big thing to start.
Yeah.
What's your journey been like?
So 10 years ago, my eldest son, Jack, was diagnosed with a rare cancer. He was 3 years old at the time. And when he was diagnosed, myself and my husband had a very much kind of positive outlook, I guess, about things. And that had come from our professional experience. You know, we'd done the personal development, we'd had mentors, we'd had support from incredible people around us. So we had those skills in a toolbox, really, and we applied that to what was now happening in our personal lives. And I believe that really helped us to cope with, you know, the 12 months of treatment that our son endured. But it also kind of helped him as well, because that was the mindset that he had. What happened thereafter was I kind of spent a lot of time in hospital with Jack, and realised that not all parents and carers had the same toolkit as us. They weren't coming from the same experience as us. There was massive inequalities within the hospital environment. I remember sitting in Royal Manchester Children's Hospital, and there was a single mum with 4 or 5 children, and one of them is being treated. And she, you know, I was watching her, you know, parenting on her own, and that was difficult in itself. But then also having another one of the children who was undergoing this treatment, and I thought, well, who's looking out for her? Who's checking in with her? Where's her peer support network? Where are her mentors? So it was kind of an idea from that stage, really. Jack, you know, completed his treatment, and the idea got shelved. But when he was on treatment, his childminder, Dawn, we asked people intentionally not to send get well soon cards, because he wasn't really aware that he was ill at the time. He wasn't presenting as traditionally sick as you can imagine a young person with cancer might be. And we because he was only 3, we were able to turn it into a bit of a game. So he thought he was going on a space mission every time he went to hospital, and you know that we went with that narrative. So his childminder and his little friends from the playgroup he went to made a painting, like a tree of life painting with all their handprints as the leaves, and we called it the Positivitree, and that's the name of the organisation. And it hung up in our living room for a couple of years. And you know we kind of had it as a reminder of that time that had passed. Unfortunately, in 2017, Jack relapsed, and I was just about to go back to work after being on maternity leave. The treatment the second time round was going to be a lot more intensive, so I had to make a decision, like a lot of parents and carers do in our community, that I needed to focus on him, and I had to quit my job and leave my career to look after him and prioritise him and his care. So that's what I did. But a bit like Cal, I'm a learner, and I can't keep still. And what am I going to do? I was never meant to be a stay-at-home mum. So I saw an advert for a course with a local organisation called the School for Social Entrepreneurs, based in Blackburn House. And it was all about, you know, have you got an idea for a socially trading organisation that would have an social impact within your community? And I was like, I have. I've got a name for it as well, actually. So I applied for it as a course, as a bit of something to do, whilst, you know, not working, looking after our Ruby, who was 8 months old then, and caring for Jack. And I enrolled on that course, and it kind of grew from there, really.
Wow. What a woman. Like, seriously, how much did you give to others when you were given to Jack, you were given to other parents and carers? Like, who was given to you? Like, how was you getting that support? Did you keep on with mentors? Did you access any help? I
think that's been a really big part of it. So part of the programme with the School for Social Entrepreneurs was having mentors. And I think actually since growing the organisation and building the charity, that's been a big part of, like, kind of surrounding myself with mentors, people who have got who are further down the journey than I am, people who have had similar experiences, or other peers as well, other parents, kept making sure that I'm constantly kind of in the community and part of that as well. I did need to access some support around my emotional health and well-being as well. I mean, first time round, I think I kind of sailed through it, probably in shock actually when I reflect back on it. And, had this very much potentially slightly toxic positivity approach and didn't really allow myself to have any negative feelings about it.
Just keep swimming.
Yeah, just keep going. But actually to my detriment when it happened 100%. Again, because when it happened again, Jack was older and now I had a baby. We'd just moved house, so we'd moved from Manchester back down to the Wirral, and I've quit my job all in the space of sort of like 6 months. Wow. And that was difficult, but with that support of like, peers on my course with the School of Social Entrepreneurs, some incredible people with brilliant ideas doing lots of different things in the community, some of whom I'm still friends with and in touch with now. And also any opportunity that I saw for a mentor, I'm not shy. There's been various people who have approached about mentoring me and asked, have you got space in your diary to... let me chew your ear off for 10 minutes or whatever. And I think that's a really important part of growing any organisation, but especially something within the community sector. It's just a part of, the development really.
Yeah.
Wow.
What a journey. It's been an absolute joy to watch you, and I really do feel incredibly inspired. And again, brought back to that quote there, from your darkest moments, there can be the springboards for your biggest successes if you can let them. And I don't think there's any darker moment really than your son being diagnosed and still in that time being able to see the needs of other people. And more than that, feeling like it's your responsibility to help those people. And I just think it's absolutely inspirational.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what you do next, honestly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you find most fulfilling about the work that you do?
Having feedback like that, actually. Yeah. I think for me, it's meeting people who have been touched by the charity, have been inspired by the story of the charity, and hearing that feedback is what really motivates me. A really current and fresh example of that is sort of when I set the charity up, like I've just explained, it was very much about starting something whilst I had this spare time on my hand, because I had a baby and I had a child going through cancer treatment, and loads of spare time then, haven't you? But it was something to kind of distract me and give me something to focus on. So probably a little bit selfish, I guess, in that focus gave me something to do to sort of distract myself from what was happening. And I've met lots of different incredible women and men. And 4 years ago, I met an amazing woman who had been out of work herself for a number of years because of her care and responsibilities, totally different sort of scenario to me, but had not been able to follow employment. And I spoke to her about an opportunity of volunteering with the charity, which she was very nervous about, but she took up. And then eventually, after she'd been volunteering, I really saw a spark in her that I thought, she's got something special. I actually said that to her the first day we met, and she thought I was crazy. I said to her I remember saying to her, look, there might be an opportunity, some funding coming into the organisation. Would you consider a paid role? Absolutely not. There's no way that I can get back in the workplace. No. So I had to do a little bit more kind of working and coaching and nurturing. And 18 months later, she had joined the team in a paid role. And yesterday, she's just been confirmed as my successor, because I'm stepping down as from my role as CEO of the charity next week, actually, because it's time for me to move on to something else. I think I've kind of achieved what I wanted to achieve. And now the organisation's in an amazing place that somebody else can kind of take it forward to the next stage. And I'm really happy that it's Tam who's taken that role, because her journey, that's the kind of epitome of the impact the organisation can have and does have on people, to build her up. She's obviously worked closely with me, but all of our team members, volunteers, staff, trustees, everybody involved in the organisation has that same ethos of just being able to support people and help them out of the situation that they're in now to move forward, for a more positive life, less socially isolated, more connected. And that just makes me feel really proud.
That's amazing. So next week's going to be a big week for you. Get the tissues ready. If you could be remembered then for one thing, what would it be?
For me, the best feedback I think anyone can ever give me, or the best thing for me to hear, is that I've inspired people. Whether that's inspired somebody to, try something new for themselves, or just feel hope when times are difficult. That for me that just really makes me feel like all of the sacrifice and all of the hard work over the last sort of 10 years or whatever has been worth it. And I like to imagine just sort of setting little fires in people, or setting little fires everywhere I go, and then it's up to people to keep those fires burning then. But that little inspiration to set the fire has come from me, and I think that's lovely.
You're a fire starter?
Yeah. With that theme tune.
How amazing is that?
Yeah, it really is. It's not often I'm speechless, Rach. It's not often. If you could spill the tea with anyone, who would you choose and why?
My grandma, easy. So she's always been the biggest source of inspiration for me. She passed away 6 years ago now. And I mean, I'm not massively sort of spiritual or religious or whatever, but I'm a big believer in kind of the circle of life. So when my grandma passed away, Jack had just relapsed. So he relapsed in the February, and she passed away in the May. And I kind of find comfort in thinking that it was her turn to go, and Jack was able to, he's well and he's in school, he's a healthy 13-year-old. It's sad, but I do think that that's part of the kind of circle of life. But I'd love to sit with her and reflect on, the last sort of 6 years since she hasn't been here, hear what she thinks about what's been going on, hear her tell me off for not practicing what I preach all the time, probably. And not always doing my hair. She always had this thing about making sure your hair was done, making sure you had your makeup on and you were dressed nicely, no matter where you were going, even if things were really difficult. If I ever turned up without my makeup on, she'd be like, but I'd love to just sit with her. And she made the best cups of tea as well, like proper loose leaf tea. In a china teacup, and she would make that cup of tea for me. I'd kill for one of them as well.
Yeah, Nans are the best, aren't they?
Yeah, and she was a proper Scouse nan, but not nan. She was definitely a grandma, but with that Scouse nan energy. No one messed about with her. She wasn't fierce outwardly, but you just did not mess. You didn't need to mess. She was the most polite and beautiful, and never swore or very proper, but you just wouldn't cross her. But she was amazing. I would love to spend some more time with her.
So what next for you then, Rach?
So I've got an amazing new job starting with the University of Liverpool. I'm going to be working in the Centre of Excellence for Long-Acting Therapies, which is a research collaboration between the Departments of Chemistry and Pharmacology. And they research long-acting therapies that can impact people with infectious diseases like HIV and AIDS, hepatitis. One of the passions that I've developed over the last 10 years since Jack's diagnosis is around clinical research and health research and getting patients and the public involved in that. There's lots of kind of really clever scientists, and I'm not a scientist by background at all. I went to a conference on Friday with some of my new colleagues, and I was like, what was it like? They were talking in a completely different language. But what I can bring to that is the connecting the different stakeholder groups together with the communities and translating things and reminding them that the language that they're talking isn't translatable to the people that it's actually affecting. And so I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to stay on hopefully if the other trustees agree, as a trustee of the charity, so I'll still be there kind of advocating and pushing things forward from that perspective as well.
Yeah.
So
you get to do almost the best bits of Positivitree, because I know from experience that when you grow in an organisation, often the reason that you started the organisation and what you love about it very quickly becomes removed to almost an admin role, doesn't it? And a meeting and a writing the funding bids and a, getting to the right networking meeting and pushing an agenda and making sure that team and are all where they're supposed to be, when actually you would love to be on the ground with those people and not doing the funding bids but without that it doesn't work.
No.
And as your organisation grows, you tend to grow into that role and lose a lot of that role.
Yeah.
And what I think will be lovely for you is that you get to advocate for your incredible charity, but be back doing what you love, rather than being part of the admin and growth side of things.
100%. I'm really excited. I think a lot of people, like, especially other people who founded charities or community organisations, I've had a lot of people go, "Oh, you're gonna close things down because they've assumed that it can't continue without me." And I think at the very beginning, a big part of the growth of the charity was me telling my lived experience and my story. Well, it's kind of gained legs way beyond that now, I don't need to kind of shove my lived experience and my personal story into it anymore for it to continue to have a brilliant reputation and and have an impact. But I think it's really nice for me that it's been created. It's there, it's out there, and I can still be a part of it, like you say, but without that kind of without all of the rubbish bits, basically. So sorry, Tam, you've got to do them now.
It belongs to you.
I think as well, the best businesses, and we often forget that when it's charity or it's come from a personal perspective, Beautiful New Beginnings, our company, our CIC, the best businesses are businesses actually that you can step away from, that you should be able to leave to someone else, that the legacy is that, because it's not attached to me as a person. And it's only really recently that we've changed our language around that and speak about it as a separate entity and not as me. Because it was very, very attached to me for a long time. And it was a piece of work that we did around professional indemnity and courses and training that's coming. And a guy in the trade and standards and sort of professional indemnity said, well, will that belong to you or will it belong to the company? And I was like thinking, well, I am the blooming company, what would be the difference? And he said, if you left Beautiful New Beginnings, which seems unspeakable, at the time, doesn't it? But who knows what the future will hold? I'm not going anywhere.
Just about to say, I held me breath for a second then.
But who owns the rights to that piece of training? Is it me, Carolyn Whitehead, or is it Beautiful New Beginnings? And there's a discrepancy. And it's only been very recently that we've looked at it like that. And the legacy of good business, John Lewis doesn't belong to John Lewis now as he is, does it? It belongs pro CEO. I wouldn't even know the person, obviously, but it belongs to somebody else. They take and carry and grow that business forward, and you've taken it as far as you can within your journey and are now leaving that legacy for somebody else to build and continue and to grow on. And they're the best businesses.
So
somebody
brave.
else should be able to take that over. The setup should be so that somebody else can pick that up and go, let's move.
Exactly.
Let's go.
And I'm really excited to see what happens to it next. I think, I've listened to various sort of podcasts, your Stephen Bartlett and stuff like that. And it's about, I've felt a little bit maybe like I've been in the way of things. My decision making is quite linear, and I'm always going to bring that lived experience. That's why the organisation exists. And it's hard. It does get hard to kind of remove that from things in your decision making. But being able to give that to somebody else and let their creativity and their ideas and, you know, come to life, I just think is amazing.
It's so brave.
Yeah.
Well. It's so brave. And it really is so inspirational just to hear you say that, because we've never ever thought about BNB like that, have we? No. But actually in the future, not only are our roles changing already, but we still have aspirations for ourselves and our development and our career that are going to help grow BNB, but also, you know, give us new opportunities.
Yeah. And I think it's thinking about that differently as well, isn't it? This new role will bring incredible opportunity and research to that business. So it's not stepping away, it's stepping out for you personally in order that you will be able to grow that in a different way with the new skills and knowledge that you've learned. So it is really exciting, but another incredibly brave decision. And I think it goes to show again to all of our listeners that nothing has to be forever. No. Just because you've chosen something, that you change as a person, and if that no longer fits or suits, you're not a tree, you're not stuck, you're not rooted in anything. You can move, you can do something differently, and you're never too old. You've never stopped learning. There's new challenges and new opportunities out there, and what you've done for the last however many years, 7-8 years, no longer serves you and fits you in the right way that it did then. So you're doing something about it. Yeah. And that's incredibly brave.
Incredibly freeing to make the decision as well. I think I've probably been thinking about it for about 18 months. 18 months ago, the organisation probably wasn't really in a safe enough position for me to be able to do it. And there was various kind of blockers that happened when I tried to escape, if you like, at that point. So I took stock and then, you know, put the things in place that I needed to. And now we are, you know, we've got amazing partnerships and, you know, funders and opportunities ahead that it's, you know, it's just going to continue to blossom and bloom, really. So
I love that.
Right time, right place.
Yeah.
Next
I feel
step.
like that would be an incredible point to end the show on. However,
you only want to end it like this because you know the answer. I'm happy to end it like that.
On the show, we have a closing tradition. What's that closing tradition, Cal? How you make
what to do with the best you like.
How to make the perfect cup of tea. So we know how you nam with me.
Yeah, we know our grandma Betty.
I love her.
In a china
She's
cup,
a great
which
woman.
is amazing. But how would you make the perfect cup of tea?
It's a china mug for me. I like a larger vessel. It's Yorkshire tea bag.
Yes.
Boiling water on it. Leave the tea bag in, and milk. Not loads of milk, just enough. Yeah.
And then give
it a little squish against the side. Yeah.
After till then, I take it all back.
No, do you know what? I feel like
you made me cry and everything, and now you make your cup of tea that way. Now I'm crying for
you've been
reasons.
Honestly, like since the day, like I met you, since the day I heard about your charity, I've been someone who both of us have absolutely just looked up to, and we talk about your business and you.
I fangirled you for years, and
she
now
really has.
Yeah,
and I feel like you should have just lied, and just
Sorry,
gone with like
my dreams.
Because I'm sort of,
like
you know what it is, what it is.
You said, you know, you didn't want to meet your idol because they just let you down.
Yeah, this is it. But you'll be okay, and it's fine. And I'm sure you will have a lot more time now to have nice cups of tea. So Cal will probably try and take you over to the dark side.
The people pleaser in me would probably just make your cup of tea the way you want it, though.
Yeah, I have to do that.
I do
I
mine
actually
like
make
mine.
my cup of tea the way she likes it when she's watching. Like that's just how it's done.
That's
and
love.
I've got a box of PG tips as well in my cupboard. Just for Cal. But you've been an amazing guest, and we're so excited to see what comes next. Like we really, really are. And we just wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Like,
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.